It's very uncertain for the entire league in general, but you're a free agent for the first time. Have you thought about what free agency might look like for you if you'd like to be back?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a restricted free agent, so I think that changes things a little bit. But I've loved my years here in Indiana. So obviously, with a lot of uncertainty, you don't know what's to come. But I've built a life here, and I love this franchise. I love the people. I love the fans. So we'll see what comes.
Elliot?
If you've been anywhere near social media lately, you've seen the headlines, the dramatic edits, the emotional music, the Lexi Hull says goodbye captions. For days, maybe weeks, the internet convinced itself that Caitlyn Clark's closest ally was walking away, that the Indiana Fever were about to lose a key piece of their chemistry. Clips spread across every platform like wildfire. Slow zooms, soft piano music, words like farewell and end of an era splashed across thumbnails. It looked emotional, heartbreaking, final. But here's the truth nobody bothered to tell you. It was never a goodbye. What fans were watching wasn't a farewell. It was a business moment. The story that blew up your feed was built for engagement, not accuracy. Because if you take a step back and actually listen to the full interview, the story changes completely. Lexi wasn't crying, she wasn't saying goodbye, she was talking about her contract status, a restricted free agency, something every professional athlete goes through. That's not a tearful exit, that's standard procedure. But because emotion drives clicks, every small pause or soft smile got turned into a moment of heartbreak. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The emotional version of the story was never an accident. It was designed. The media packaged it to feel heavy and final because sadness sells better than structure. They gave you the movie version of a business negotiation. But underneath that noise was something much smarter happening. A loyalty test. One that quietly pulled Caitlyn Clark, Lexi Hull, and the Fever's front office into a high-stakes standoff about loyalty, chemistry, and power. This isn't a breakup, it's a chess move. And the more you look at it, the more it starts to make perfect sense.
Why I came here, and that's what she preached to me in the recruiting process. You know, you're going to have the ball in your hands a lot. And I think a lot of my final schools kind of had that same look, but I think the read and react offense that we run was super important for myself. You know, you're making basketball reads. It's not a set. You're not being told what to do every single time you come down the floor. You're just playing the game you love. You're flowing freely. You're playing off your teammates, and that was super, super important for myself. And I think also the past success of what they've done, like it was proven that it was very successful. They've proven that they're a great offensive team. So that really appealed to me.
Let's clear something up once and for all. Restricted free agent doesn't mean leaving. It means the player can listen to other offers, but the team still has the right to match them. It's a negotiation stage, not a farewell tour. So when Lexi Hull said she was entering restricted free agency, she wasn't hinting at walking away. She was doing what smart players do, protecting her leverage. But in today's media cycle, context doesn't trend, emotion does. So instead of saying Hull enters restricted free agency, the internet went with Lexi says goodbye to the Fever. The difference between those headlines says everything about modern sports storytelling. The chopped clips removed the key phrase, restricted free agent, and replaced it with dramatic music and half sentences. Every reaction post built on the last one until fans genuinely believed a core piece of the Fever's future was gone. But here's the part the viral machine ignored. In pro sports, cautious wording is strategy. If you sound too eager to stay, your market value drops. Lexi knows that. The Fever know that. This was contract chess, not emotional collapse. Still, emotion spreads faster than facts. And because Lexi is so closely tied to Caitlyn Clark, that connection made the story irresistible. Clark's best friend leaves. That phrase alone was engagement gold, even though it wasn't true. While the algorithm cashed in on emotion, the real story, the one buried beneath all that noise, was about how business, loyalty, and image collided behind the scenes. Because the truth is, the Fever were never losing Lexi Hull. They were being tested by her loyalty and Caitlyn's influence. Here's what almost every headline missed. This story isn't about a contract, it's about a connection. Caitlyn Clark and Lexi Hull's chemistry is one of the biggest reasons the Fever stayed stable through a turbulent season. It's more than friendship. It's an unspoken rhythm that shows up every game. The extra pass on the wing, the perfect defensive rotation, the way they read each other's energy under pressure. That kind of trust can't be faked, and it's the reason both players have become the emotional center of the Fever's rebuild. When Lexi posted her end-of-season message, the same post that got chopped and turned into a goodbye, Caitlyn didn't ignore it. She commented publicly, "So proud of you." Simple, but powerful. Because in the world of professional sports, 3 words from a superstar carry weight. It wasn't just a comment. It was a signal. It said, "This is my teammate. This is who I stand with." And that one moment flipped the narrative. Fans stopped asking, "Is Lexi leaving?" and started asking, "What does this mean for the Fever's front office?" Because Caitlyn Clark's loyalty doesn't just exist in private. It shapes perception, decisions, and even negotiations. Her influence stretches far beyond the court, and when she chooses to show support, everyone listens. From fans to management. That's what makes this situation so unique. The media tried to sell heartbreak, but what they actually exposed was power. The quiet kind that moves organizations without a single press conference or leaked rumor. Caitlyn and Lexi's connection isn't just about friendship anymore. It's become leverage. It's the invisible thread pulling at the front office, reminding them that team chemistry isn't a luxury. It's the core of what makes this franchise work. And that's the real headline the media missed. After that postseason message went up, the media tried to twist it into drama. But Caitlyn Clark instantly changed the tone. Instead of letting rumors build, she stepped in publicly with 3 simple words. "So proud of you." On paper, it looks ordinary. In context, it was a signal flare. Because when a player with Caitlyn's influence says something, everyone notices. That short comment wasn't just encouragement, it was a declaration. It told fans, teammates, and the front office exactly where her loyalty stood. It said, "This is my teammate. This is who I want here." And that changed the conversation overnight. It reminded people that what Caitlyn brings to the Fever isn't just points and assists. It's leadership that can move markets. When she speaks, it shifts energy. From the locker room all the way to the boardroom. Her words carry business weight, fan emotion, and internal pressure all at once. That's how superstars operate in the modern era. They don't need a microphone to make an impact. So while social media fed off clickbait and fake tears, the real play was happening quietly. Caitlyn's public show of loyalty strengthened Lexi's negotiating position without a single phone call. It reminded the Fever that chemistry isn't replaceable and loyalty has value you can't measure on a stat sheet. The team's decision makers suddenly found themselves balancing dollars against something much bigger, their franchise leader's trust. That's why this friendship is more than a feel-good story. It's a partnership that changes the way the Fever operate. 2 players, 1 bond, reshaping an entire franchise from the inside out. And that loyalty isn't just personal, it's strategic. Because Caitlyn Clark's support turned a routine contract into a statement of culture. Here's where things get serious. What started as a rumor has turned into a silent test for the Indiana Fever's leadership. They're now standing at a crossroads, one that says more about who they are than any win-loss record ever could. Caitlyn Clark didn't issue demands, and Lexi Hull didn't threaten to leave. But the situation itself has become an unspoken ultimatum. If the Fever fail to keep Hull, the message will be immediate and brutal. They don't value chemistry, they don't protect loyalty, and they're willing to gamble with the trust of their franchise star. You don't need insider leaks to see how that would play out. The moment Lexi signs elsewhere, social media will explode. Fans will question the front office's vision. Analysts will start calling it another team that couldn't build around its generational talent. And morale inside the locker room? That would take a hit no stat could measure. Because imagine being Caitlyn Clark in that situation. How do you walk into camp knowing your closest teammate, the one who steadied the team through chaos, was allowed to leave without a fight? That's not just a roster change, that's a fracture in trust. The Fever can't afford that kind of damage. Not now. Not when every move they make is watched by fans, sponsors, and other teams. The only real option is clear. They have to keep her. No hesitation, no drawn-out drama. Matching whatever offer comes in isn't about numbers anymore. It's about stability. It's about proving that this franchise understands what makes it strong. Because once trust is broken, it doesn't come back easily. This is the kind of decision that defines a team's identity. Do they stand behind their chemistry and culture, or do they chase short-term savings at long-term cost? One path builds the future, the other tears it apart. And the Fever don't just owe that decision to Lexi Hull. They owe it to Caitlyn Clark, the player whose loyalty turned this negotiation into the biggest statement of their season. What's happening right now inside the Indiana Fever organization isn't just a negotiation, it's a definition of values. Because if the front office has learned anything this year, it's that loyalty isn't cheap, but it's priceless. Keeping Lexi Hull isn't about stats or depth charts anymore. It's about preserving the heartbeat of the team. You can't measure chemistry in numbers, but you can feel it. You can see it in the way the team plays when trust runs high. Smoother, calmer, confident, even under pressure. And if the Fever lose that, they lose the one thing that got them through their toughest moments this season. The rest of the league is watching. Coaches, GMs, and rival fans are waiting to see if Indiana truly understands what they have in Caitlyn Clark. Because this decision sends a message to everyone. It's not just about keeping a role player. It's about showing that Indiana values the culture its star has helped create. And here's the thing. Caitlyn's loyalty didn't come from meetings or contracts. It came from actions. She never demanded attention, she earned it by leading with respect. When she shows loyalty to someone like Lexi Hull, it carries weight. So when she commented, "So proud of you," the Fever's front office wasn't just reading a nice message. They were hearing the subtext. "This is my teammate. Don't lose her." That's the quiet power of modern athletes. They don't need public ultimatums. They influence the narrative simply by showing where their support lies. And now, the Fever are staring at a choice that will define their image for years. Do they act with awareness and reward the loyalty that rebuilt their locker room? Or do they fumble it and show they still don't get it? Because this isn't about paying for one player. It's about paying for stability, trust, and unity. The kind of culture money alone can't buy. To understand how high the stakes are, you have to zoom out. This situation isn't happening in a vacuum. It's unfolding in the middle of two major power shifts shaking women's basketball to its core. The first one, the NBA's current collective bargaining agreement, or CBA, is ticking toward its expiration date, October 31st, 2025. That might sound far away, but behind the scenes, negotiations have already begun. And they're tense. Players are demanding better pay, better travel, and more control over their schedules, things they've earned after years of being underpaid and overworked. The league, on the other hand, is preparing for a storm. There's already talk of a potential lockout in 2026. And when that kind of uncertainty starts to spread, stability becomes gold. Teams that appear fractured or indecisive instantly lose credibility. For the Fever, that means this Lexi Hull decision isn't just about the present roster. It's about optics during a league-wide shift in power. If they appear careless about loyalty or slow to support their core players, other stars will notice, agents will notice. It becomes part of a reputation that's hard to shake. Then comes the second shift, unrivaled. A new player-owned league led by superstars Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. It's not just a side project, it's a revolution. Six-figure salaries, flexible schedules, real creative control. It's the kind of opportunity that gives players, even role players, freedom and leverage they've never had before. So now, when someone like Lexi Hull sits down at the negotiation table, she's not just talking to the Fever, she's talking to an entire new landscape of choices. She doesn't have to accept less. She doesn't have to feel undervalued. And if the Fever misread that, they risk more than losing her. They risk looking outdated in an era that's moving forward without them. Because the truth is simple. Players finally have power. And loyalty in this new era isn't sentimental, it's strategic. So now that we've looked at the contracts and context, let's bring it back home to the Indiana Fever and what they truly stand to lose. This team isn't just another franchise. They've fought tooth and nail to rebuild from the ground up. They've weathered losing seasons, injuries, criticism, and constant media pressure. And just when the world thought they were falling apart, they started rising again, piece by piece, game by game. That rise didn't come from luck, it came from chemistry. From players like Lexi Hull, who bring stability when chaos hits. She's the type of player who does the unseen work, setting screens, diving for loose balls, keeping the energy steady when emotions spike. She doesn't chase headlines, she keeps the locker room balanced. That's what the Fever risk losing if they let her go. Not just defense or hustle, but the invisible structure that holds the team together. And Caitlyn knows that better than anyone. She's seen firsthand what that trust does in tight moments. When the pressure's high, Lexie's the calm that keeps everything from breaking. Last season, when injuries stacked up and the rotation shrank, the Fever didn't fold. They pushed through, made a playoff run, and reminded everyone why chemistry matters as much as talent. They became one of the most resilient teams in the league because of loyalty like this. If the Fever front office doesn't protect that now, it sends the wrong message. It says they're willing to risk the foundation of what made them competitive again. It says they're chasing short-term financial flexibility instead of long-term identity. And in a league changing this fast, that kind of mistake can set a franchise back years. That's why this moment feels so heavy. Because it's not about one player's contract. It's about whether the Fever truly understand the value of what they've built. The connection, the loyalty, the trust. That's the real story. And every other team in the league is watching closely to see if Indiana gets it right. If the Fever have learned anything from this roller coaster season, it's that talent alone doesn't win. Culture does. When injuries hit, when the headlines turned ugly, when everyone started doubting them, this team held together because of chemistry. Not the kind you see on highlight reels, but the kind that lives in the locker room. The quiet trust that keeps players fighting for each other. And that trust didn't appear out of nowhere. It was built through moments that never made the broadcast. Late night film sessions, hard practices, players stepping up when others went down. Lexi Hull was at the center of all that. She became the steady heartbeat, the one who anchored the team when chaos hit. She's not the loudest voice or the flashiest name, but she's the glue. When the Fever survived those brutal stretches earlier in the year, it wasn't luck, it was unity. Other teams cracked under pressure. Indiana stayed connected. And that connection came from loyalty. From players like Lexie who bought in completely, and from leaders like Caitlyn Clark who made everyone believe again. That's what makes this decision about Hull so critical. Letting her go isn't just losing a role player. It's losing a piece of the foundation. Keeping her sends a different kind of message, that the Fever understand who they are. That they're not chasing short-term flexibility or analytics, they're investing in the human side of winning. Trust, chemistry, and loyalty. Because the truth is simple. In modern sports, loyalty isn't a weakness. It's a weapon. It's what separates teams that flame out fast from teams that build dynasties. And if the Fever want to build around Caitlyn Clark for the long run, this is their first real test. Do they protect the culture that brought them this far, or do they gamble it away? Every choice from here on out tells the story of what kind of franchise they want to be. One that values people, or one that only values numbers. So now we reach the truth the headlines never told you. This was never a farewell. It was a mirror, a reflection of what the Indiana Fever really believe in. Because Caitlyn Clark's loyalty has quietly become the franchise's accountability test. Every move from this point on will reveal whether they see her influence as a threat or as the gift it truly is. The media wanted a heartbreak story. What they got was a warning shot. Clark isn't dividing this team, she's defining it. Her loyalty has forced everyone around her to show theirs. Front office decisions, locker room energy, even fan confidence now orbit around the question: will Indiana honor the chemistry that made them relevant again? This goes way beyond basketball. It's cultural. It's symbolic of a new WNBA era where players have real voices, where loyalty has tangible value, and where leadership looks different than it used to. Caitlyn's power doesn't come from ego, it comes from authenticity. From caring about the people beside her and standing by them when the noise gets loud. That's the kind of leadership fans rally behind. Sponsors trust and teammates respect. If the Fever get this right, if they back their culture, keep their core, and show gratitude for what loyalty brings, they'll be remembered as the franchise that evolved first. If they get it wrong, the fallout won't just be losing a player. It'll be losing credibility in a league that's changing fast. Because in this new era of women's sports, loyalty is the new currency. It can build dynasties, shape negotiations, and define legacies. And Caitlyn Clark just reminded the world that behind every highlight, every headline, and every contract, there's still one thing that matters most: trust. So what do you think? Is this a masterclass in player empowerment? A subtle, brilliant power move by Caitlyn Clark and her circle? Or is the Fever front office being cornered by loyalty politics they don't know how to handle? Drop your take in the comments. We read every one. And if you believe the real stories, The ones buried under the noise, the ones built on truth, loyalty, and courage, deserve to be told. Hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Because what's unfolding right now in women's basketball isn't just about contracts or stats. It's about a new kind of power, and we're just getting started.